Hi everyone, it's Georgia Rose from Zencuda, and today is July 8th, and this video is going to be about the full moon coming in on July 13th and the astrology and energy as I interpret it for the last half of July. So welcome to my channel. As you know, Zencuda is all over social media. We have a Facebook page, Zencuda by Georgia Rose. We have a social media page on Instagram, which is Zencuda Official. Of course, our YouTube channel right here, Zencuda, and we also are on Twitter. So I hope you'll also tune in to the Soul Space podcast on Monday. This coming Monday, we'll be talking more about the full moon coming in depth. And we will also be talking about our second half in our series about narcissism and how to deal with narcissistic trauma. So I hope you'll join me for that at 7 o'clock on strongisland.com and also on my Facebook page live at Georgia Rose Zencuda. So what's going on with this full moon coming in? It's quite powerful. Before I get to that, let's talk about the next couple of days and into the weekend. We have an energy right now that can be a little bit uncomfortable. We're kind of looking for resolution on some things and maybe not really finding it just yet, but things are starting to be revealed and we're starting to get a little bit of clarity. So that kind of feels good. But most of you who are empathic or who really can sense energy are probably feeling some pretty intense stuff right now leading up to that full moon, which is going to be in Capricorn. And we should be pretty familiar with the Capricorn Cancer axis by now, because most of 2020 and 2021 was all about that energy. But let's look at the chart and maybe I can explain it a little bit more to you briefly about what's going to go on the next few days leading up to our beautiful full moon in the end of the month. So I'm going to share my screen here for you guys. And this is our chart of the moment coming in now. And as you can see, we have quite a bunch of planets all jumped up here in the signs of Taurus. And also we still have these planets up here in Cancer. So right now the sun is in Cancer. You can see by my cursor at 16 degrees. For those of you who are born the next few days, happy birthday. Your sun is probably right around this area. And when you have your birthday, it means that your sun is returning to the place it was when you were born. So that's why we call it another trip around the sun. It takes 1 year for your sun to rotate around the whole zodiac. So getting back to right now and today. So we have this beautiful sun in Cancer at 16 degrees. That sun in Cancer makes us very heartfelt. It's an energy that you can feel almost palpable out in the world where people may be a bit moody, but at the same time, our hearts are really close to the surface and we have deep feeling about things. We don't want to let go of the past so much when the sun is in Cancer. We want to hold on to things that make us feel secure. But of course, as Cancer carries his shell on his back, the real lesson of Cancer is that our home and our security is always within us. And that's the energy generally globally and in our own personal lives right now. But if you look at this chart, you'll see that we also have this thing that looks like a little hook, which is the North Node, which is our arc of development, our destiny. When I look at the North Node in someone's chart, I can tell you exactly what their life purpose is. And this is at 19 degrees. And this planet here is Uranus, which is at 18 degrees of Taurus. So these two planets are what we call sextiling the sun at 16 degrees of Cancer. And those will grow closer as we go towards the full moon, which is on the 13th, the 12th, 13th. So what does that mean? Well, when the sun sextiles the North Node, it means that we're going to have some breakthroughs. The energy that we've been feeling right now, where we don't really know what to believe, we don't really know what's true, we're searching for the truth, we're searching for the real, we want to get to the bottom of things, that's going to have a lot of movement during this full moon. And in addition to that, we also have Venus and Saturn forming a trine, which stabilizes. Saturn is this planet down here at 24 of Aquarius, and it's been there a while. Saturn is retrograde, not really moving a whole lot. And also we've got Pluto down here in the last degrees of Capricorn. Our moon right now is in Scorpio. As that moves the next few days, it's going to line up in Capricorn. And then we have this beautiful full moon that occurs. The full moon occurs when the moon and the sun are absolutely exactly opposite each other in the zodiac. A new moon is when they're together and a full moon is when they're opposite. So being that this sun is at 16 degrees Cancer, and it's not going to move very much in the next couple of days, you're going to find that the full moon in Capricorn is going to be at 21 degrees. So it's very close to this Pluto energy that we've been dealing with for quite a few years now. Pluto is the energy that's making a lot of our structures crumble. Pluto is the energy where something has to die to be reborn. It doesn't do this in a malicious way, although sometimes that can be harsh in our personal lives. It does this so that we can rebirth something. And that's where this Saturn Cancerian, the Saturn in Aquarius energy comes in, because that's all about new future-oriented energy. So when we have the moon lining up with Pluto, which is an energy of change, transformation, deep, deep transformation, destroying what no longer serves us in order for us to move towards the new Saturn at 24 degrees of Aquarius, these planets also are lining up into those degrees. So if you have any planets anywhere between 20 and 24 degrees in your chart, you're going to feel this full moon really, really strongly. So what is the full moon energy bringing in? Well, this weekend, we're going to lead up to some movement. We're going to feel like we're finally gaining a little bit of clarity. I wouldn't be surprised if some of the news items that have been lingering a long time that we don't know the whole truth about start to get some movement with some more deep analysis. And even the things in our personal life where we've felt stagnation are going to very much move along, and we'll suddenly get more information about them. We'll have a little more clarity, but also movement with that. However, be a little bit cautious, especially towards the middle of next week, when we get to the 13th, around that full moon and the 14th, because at that full moon, we've got a lot of breakthroughs coming, but we don't know the whole picture yet. The whole picture gets revealed in November. So this is an energy that's going to be with us for a little bit of time, and exacts actually on the elections in November. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this energy plays out globally in our own country here in the United States, but really look at the juxtaposition or the similarities or the themes of that are playing out in your own life. Maybe it's freedom versus control. Maybe it's something about not knowing the whole truth or not facing the truth. But be really observing of what goes on during this full moon, because you're definitely going to see some movement in some places in your life where things have been stagnated. It's also going to make us aware of limitations, both personally and collectively. This is an energy where law comes in, structure comes in order to give us limitations. We want to expand in an unlimited way with Neptune where it is now, and Neptune is retrograde, barely moving off a 25-degree mark in Pisces. So you see how all those 20-degree marks are all playing in. So with Neptune barely moving, we're still kind of foggy. We're not really sure what the truth is. Is what's being revealed all the whole picture? Well, probably not. You're going to find things about ongoing investigations. You're going to see drips and drips of new information and new information. And whatever you're working on your own life to clarify or communicate with or bring to the surface is going to start to be revealed in the same way, with the same kind of movement. But then when this full moon comes in, there's sudden changes, but we have to be cautious. We don't want to overact or overreact. This is a time when you really want to watch your words. Don't make a plan and make it so rigid that it can't be flexible. You want to go with the flow of however this energy shows up in your life, because this energy can be intense, especially if you have planets in Cancer, planets in Capricorn, around those 20-degree marks. So this is a breakthrough in the stagnation in our lives and globally, wherever that's playing out for you. And it's also continued dilemmas, because we're not going to have complete resolution on any of these issues until November. You'll have some movement and more clarity, but November is a time when things really, really shift for all of us and also out in the world. So it's going to be really curious to see how this is. Venus is also in play with this full moon, and all around July 14th and 16th, all for next week. Venus is going to kind of stabilize. We're going to be able to be more clear about what we love and value, what we want in our relationships, what we don't want. And we'll also have some movement and growth as far as what we want to communicate to others in regards to those things, and communicate to ourselves. What do we really value? How do we really want to spend our time? You know, and I think you're going to see a lot of boundaries being set in relationships, whether that's with family members or friends or romantic partners. And I want to remind us all, and myself included, that we don't have to be very verbal or vocal about our boundaries. We have to take action with them, and not in a harsh way. Boundaries aren't for other people. Boundaries are for us. So when we set our boundaries, don't be too concerned about the other person obeying them or respecting them. be more concerned about you being consistent enough to respect yourself and those boundaries. And know that if someone's not doing that and it's really a detriment to you, that you're going to very lovingly and quietly just move away. Confrontation is not always the answer when setting boundaries. Boundaries are about us and what we truly desire, not about trying to get the other person to conform to things. So that's the energy coming in towards this midweek of July. And then as we progress to the 17th, Mercury actually comes into play. It moves into 25 degrees Leo. Again, all these planets are in 20 to 25 degrees of their signs. And it's causing a lot of sextiles and quincunxes and conjunctions and all these things that I know you guys get bored with hearing, but are really the meat of the astrology that we do for us astrologers out there. And so we're going to have a lot of activity in the zodiac this month. It's a powerful month. It starts to raise issues and it starts to bring issues to movement to issues, but doesn't give us completion until the fall when that November transits come in. This is an energy where some people will want to grab out to what they think and grasp onto what they think is real, and they'll be really convinced it's real. But I can assure you there's more to come. So it's like that saying, wait, there's more. There's a lot more coming. So good and maybe not so good. Depends on where your growth cycle is and where that arc of development is for you. But don't go off thinking that a dream is real. We're going to be dreaming very vividly during this time, especially if you have planets in those 25 degrees somewhere. And if you've got planets that are conjuncting some of these planets, such as Uranus, the sun and moon, etc., the North Node is playing in. And if you need a personal reading to decipher those things for you, just reach out because I'm here to help. And a personal astrology reading will really help you to understand the course of not only your life and your destiny, but where your challenges are so you can approach them with much more motivation and assertion. When I do an astrology reading, I also bring in my psychic ability and my mediumship ability. So anything can happen during one of your astrology readings, but the basis of it is for soul work and to get you where you need to be in your life purpose. So we have that Venus energy, and that's going to stabilize us. But then we've got the Neptune energy, which comes in and kind of brings us into a little bit of illusion about what we think is the stability. So be very careful in making really, really big decisions now, decisions that are going to affect you for several years. I would try to really become more heartfelt about them, be more observant of them, and maybe if you can, not make those huge decisions until the fall, November, when this energy really stabilizes a little bit more. In this energy, especially after the 17th of the month, you're going to see a lot of passive aggression come through. That is something where, because the planets are all in their last degrees of signs, and usually that means we want to finish up stuff. And sometimes we can be aggressive, but we don't want to show it. So it becomes kind of like this hidden passive aggressive thing you'll see out in the world. Mercury then moves into Leo on the 19th. It went through Taurus so fast. It was, Cancer so fast. It was like not even barely there 3 months. And so Mercury in Leo on the 19th really does make us feel like we have an energy shift. Mercury in Leo wants the spotlight, unlike Cancer. Mercury in Cancer wants to think about things, get in touch with their heart, connect heart and head. Leo's the actor, the actress. They want the spotlight. They want to be on stage. They want to say something that they think you should really listen to. And it may not be that important. So all of that Leo energy comes in for all of us, that little bit of wanting to be listened to on stage, want the spotlight on us. And that can be rather daunting for the people around us, since they're going to feel the same way too. So it's almost like everybody's pushing each other out of the way to gain the spotlight. And you'll see that play out globally as well on the stage. So when Mercury goes into Leo, it also opposes Pluto. So sometimes that can bring out a lot of ego, and it can bring out people who are really seeking the spotlight just for egoic means. So if you're planning an event during that time frame after like the 7/19, after July 19th, just be aware there could be some, fighting over the mic if you're doing karaoke, or there may be somebody who gets their nose out of joint because you forgot to acknowledge them in a certain way. It is a good time for communication and leadership. So if you can turn some of that ego aggression into assertion and keep the ego in check, that old expression, check yourself before you wreck yourself. So that's Mercury in Leo. Then we move on towards the end of the month. The planet of the wounded healer, Chiron, does station as it's going to go retrograde. And that sometimes can bring out some deep wounds for us towards that July 20th date. The sun is opposing Pluto then as well. So it can bring us some grief up that we haven't healed. It can bring up some things that we want to take care of that we haven't taken care of in a while. But with some of the other planets there, we can really make use of that energy by going back into history or going back into the things that once affected us and reconciling them, resolving them, using what we know now to bring healing forward and then leave it where it is, not bring it so far forward that we're staying in our wound. So that's around the 20th of the month. If you have things that you want to communicate about at work, a project like that, that's probably best done more towards the end of this month, because these are some big shifts going on from now until July closes. The biggest powerful thing that happens in July happens August 1st, actually. So that's when the energy really changes. So you want to kind of lay a little bit low in taking action, but you want to do a lot of soul work and work on yourself and contemplative work and, meditation, or just those walks in the park where you kind of figure stuff out. That's the energy that you really want to try to engage in this month, because some of the energy is going to want to compel you to go forward and have the confrontation or take the stage. And it's really not time to do that yet. Around the 21st, we've got Mars in a half square to Neptune, and then Venus in a square and a half to Uranus, and then Jupiter half squaring Saturn. What does all that mean? Well, it means that it's going to be a little annoying, a little problematic. We'll feel fussy. Something's poking us and we can't find a solution for it. The solution will come later in the month. The bigger solution comes in November. This is not where you want to act. This is where you want to go back to the drawing board and think about things. Take that walk in the park, contemplate the right way to go. The fork in the road doesn't need to be engaged right away. You can think about it a while in this energy. And then we close out the month, on the 28th, Uranus conjuncts Mars. And that's a really, really powerful energy for power struggles. And I don't say these things in order to broadcast negative stuff. I say these things so that you can be aware and then guide yourself on how you want to direct certain things in your life and certain projects or certain relationships or certain talks or whatever you need to do. So when we have that energy of coming in towards that 28th, when Mars and Pluto start to interact, Mars and Uranus start to interact, there's also a new moon in Leo at 5 degrees then. And that new moon in Leo compacted with that Mars-Pluto energy, that's going to be a little bit of a whopper as far as expression goes. That's the new moon that's on July 28th, and I'll have more about it on my show Soul Space. That's the new moon that really takes whatever was getting some movement on the full moon on the 13th and makes people want to act out in regards to it. That's where people want to, really express. Leo moons are moons where people are just coming into their lion, that they want to show off their mane, they want to show their teeth, they want you to recognize them, etc. So your words can be very inflammatory around the 28th of this month as we go into the end of the month. So try and really watch your words. And that goes for even electronic communication where you're posting or sending and things. Really, really want to watch that around that July 28th time when we've got Uranus conjuncting Mars and we've got the energy of that new moon in Leo. It's kind of fiery. It's kind of spontaneous. It's combustive. It's the kind of global climate where you're going to see the Schumann resonance, the heartbeat of the earth spike. You're going to see volcanoes. You're going to see a lot of fire type energy. And I want to say, because the Uranus and Mars conjunction is happening in the sign of Taurus, it's also money, possessions. This could be something that happens in the stock market that's a real game changer, or something that happens with even personal finances that's a real game changer. It is about what we value as far as sustenance and resources, food, money, possessions, homes, things like that. And this is really about valuing our valuables and what are our valuables. But again, this energy doesn't come to its true crescendo until November, but something does have a movement or an eruption regarding it now. So you want to be prepared. That's what astrology is about, knowing when to hold them and when to fold them, right? So that's kind of how we finish out the month. Well, after that new moon in Leo and the Uranus-Mars conjunction on the 28th, then the last couple of days of the month, we have some energy that's a little bit uncomfortable because something occurs that tells us what we already knew, but we didn't want to know. It's that kind of energy. Things are revealed. So on the whole, July is a very deep month of happenings. Things are happening. It's almost like we're in this vortex of revelation, of things that we know are probably going to have to come to a head sooner or later, really start to have some movement and come to a head. Things are revealed to be what we thought they were, but there are a lot of surprises too. This is an energy where maybe we feel it for a few days before things happen and a few days after. In the last couple of days, I've had 4 clients, in the last day, I've had 4 clients call me for readings saying, I feel something brewing, I feel something impending. Brewing is the right word. This is energy that's really spiraling and working itself, but it's doing it so that things have a resolution. That's not always comfortable, but it has a resolution. And the reason why it does is because we're still in this cycle with Pluto at the end of Capricorn, where the earth and the universe and the skies and the heavens, whatever you believe in, wants to keep clearing stuff because it's really about the birth of a new world. And so that's, where we are. But day to day, it's about birthing a new life, building a life that is truly authentic to your heart and soul, and using things like astrology and other modalities, meditation, messaging, channeling, in order to give you the divine guidance that you need. This time that we're in, especially this month, is where the veil gets really thin and you can tap into those life messages that you need from the divine. Whoever you believe created the energy that you are working in, living in, breathing in today is what you want to connect with. And that's how we stay stable no matter what's going on around us. So as this energy comes to a close, we have some really powerful days towards the very end of the month. I'll be with you every step of the way, but towards the end of this month, that brew that we have really starts to boil over and boil over. So my best advice to you, today's the 8th of the month. We've got about 3 weeks to go. And my best advice to you is observe your feelings, observe what's going on around you without having to always engage in it. And really think about what are the things as this stuff is brewing. What's the stuff you've got stuck to the bottom of the pot? Because that's the stuff you want to start peeling away, scrubbing away, dissolving, working with, making into something clean and new and vibrant. Because those are the things that are going to boil over when we get towards the end of this month, towards the beginning of August. That's when the energy really starts to culminate even more and then builds up into the November culmination. This is a slow brew, powerful days. We've got Mars, Uranus, and the North Node all conjunct at 18 degrees of Taurus, coming in on the 1st of August, exacting. So you're going to see a lot of spontaneous combustion. And what I will say, if there's anything you've been procrastinating, any situation that you know is ready to boil or that you know is kind of warming up, heating up, and you really need to take care of it, please do it now. Do it in a methodical way, do it in a controlled way, and do it for your highest good, because the universe may come and decide, oh, we're done with this stew, we're going to burn it up. So you always want to have your life created and co-created with the divine in a really, really healthy and happy way. Good news is about this energy is we got movement coming. How many of us have felt for the longest time, I'm stuck in a loop, I'm stuck in a loop. I can't seem to really get myself out of this. Well, now, especially this week, we start to really ask ourselves who we are and who we want to be in relation to what we value. This is really about what we value, and it's about thinking for ourselves, stepping out of the matrix, stepping out of all the shoulda, woulda, couldas, you have to, no, this is what it is, stepping out of all that and really using this energy to put us where the world wants us to be, where the universe wants us to be, where your creator wants you to be. So if you have any questions about the astrology, hang in there, call me. I will call you back. I will message you back. I have a really busy schedule right now, but I am booking for some days in August that I still have left. So if you need a reading, call me. And if not, please watch my videos on Zencuda. Subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't yet. And my Soul Space podcast is all about you guys. It's a community where we really support each other on the journey every Monday night at 7 o'clock, live on Facebook, Strong Island or Georgia Rose Zancuda. And then, of course, it's banked on that those platforms and also on my YouTube channel on Zancuda. So you can watch it anytime. Soul Space is there for you, and hopefully it'll become your soul space too. Thank you so much. I'm Georgia Rose. You know where to find me. Have a great weekend and a great rest of the month.